All right, for our third and final video for today, we'll do 3 more next week, finishing up the book. We are now going to dive into the combat system. We started off making the character. We then moved into how skills and attributes are used. Well, guess what? You know, some skills and attributes actually include shooting people with blasters and getting shot with blasters. So we want to find out how you do that, first of all, and then after that, how that damage system and recovery system for this game work. So let's dive into that let's march to that right now. No more march. All right. So combat, let me get my note card out here so I know what page I'm going to. All right, page 12. And I'm going to take another swig o' drink. For those watching the live stream while I'm looking at this right now, we aren't even halfway to a giveaway. How many people are watching? 54. Wow. That's pretty good for being a game we don't normally cover. So thank you for everybody being here. Pardon me while I take a quick drink, and then we'll dive into this. Probably should have done that before I started the segment, but definitely dehydrated. And oh well, the people who watch the video can get a little taste of what it's like to watch the live stream. All right, so we're supposed to start on page 12. That looks like page 12. And did we talk about wounds before? We did talk about wounds. So where are we starting here? Reaction skills. Oh, 12, right here, way at the bottom. All right, combat is fought in combat rounds, each of which represents about 5 seconds of quote-unquote real time. In a role-playing game, combat is not fought on a board. I love it. I want miniatures. No. Instead, the game master describes your surroundings and opponents. Then he goes around the table and asks each player what his character is doing this combat round. When he comes to you, you must tell him what skills you're using, how many times you're using them. Remember, we talked about this in the last video. I'm firing once at the trooper on the left and moving over here. Over here? Might want to explain it more than that. Then again, he probably has a little, lazy map drawn. That's what I do anyway. On the like a whiteboard or vinyl map or something. Exception, you don't have to declare reaction skill uses. That was also talked about previously, but it's reiterated again. Next, the game master tells you what your opponents are doing. Then actions are resolved. You continue playing combat rounds until one side or the other is defeated or gives up. Action segments. At the beginning of the combat round, each player must declare what his character is doing. Got it. Whether he's moving, and if so, where, and what non-reaction skills he's using. As you know, the editing of this book needs a little help. Don't get me wrong, I still like it, but you just read this and now you're repeating it again, like in literally the next paragraph. I get it if it's like a page or two later, a chapter or two later, but come on, this could have been summed up better. Combat rounds are divided into action segments. During each action segment, each character may use one skill or attribute or move. Once again, reaction skills don't take any time to use. You can use any reaction skill, blah, blah, blah. Got it. Rourke wants to run, then fire. Jana wants to fire. Jana's fire and Rourke's movement occur in the first segment. Rourke's fire occurs in the second segment. This, for some reason, was confusing for people when at some of the tables that I played at. If you declare 3 things, let's just say I'm going to shoot 3 times. And this goes back to the previous video. If you look at the extra actions and the die codes, and then how that dodge got slipped in there, this is what it relates to. Segment 1 is your first action. Or, I'm sorry, it's not segment. What the heck they call it here? I forgot the name. Yeah, okay, action segment 1. Segment 1 is your first action. Segment 2 is your second action. Segment 3 is your third action. So, if you shoot and he shoots, you have to suffer that before you go into your second segment action. If you shoot and he shoots and you dodge, that's still considered part of your first segment, but it's going to affect all the die rolls in the second, third segment. Hopefully that makes sense. So Rourke wants to run, then fire. Jana wants to fire. Jana's fire and Rourke's movement occur in the first segment. Rourke's fire occurs in the second segment. I know I reread that, but just to reiterate that. Movement and skill and attribute uses occur in the order declared. One per action segment. The character cannot pass a segment. Actions are resolved until the character has run out of declared actions to perform. Now, you Palladium players will pretty much understand that, but instead of having a number of, a particular number of actions, now it's however many you just declare. Basically, how many dice you have. Initiative. Normally, it doesn't matter exactly when during an action segment a particular character gets to act. Everyone just moves or shoots or uses some other skill. The only time it matters is when someone uses a skill that will affect another character's skill use. Rourke fires at Jana and vice versa. If Rourke gets his shot off before Jana does and wounds her, Jana never gets to shoot back. Yeah, that's an important reason to want to go first, right? When two characters are doing things that affect each other, make skill or attribute rolls for both. If a character is moving, make a dexterity roll instead, since there's no code for movement. The high roller goes first. Then the character with the highest... the high roller goes first, then the character with the next highest, I see the word next here, goes, and so on. The same roll is used to determine whether the character's skill or attribute use succeeds. Okay. So it's an attribute roll for both. Dexterity if it's moving. Character with the highest roll goes first. Okay. Example. Jana is using a blaster skill. And Rourke's also using a blaster skill. They're pretty close, but she's just one pip better. Both shoot at each other. Difficulty for each shot is 15. Jana's roll is 19, Rourke's is 17. Jana gets her shot off first because 19 is greater than 17. Oh, okay. This actually is different than what I thought. I want to say we did things a little differently than this, but I might be mistaken. Because she rolled higher on her skill check, her shot is considered to go first. Jana gets her shot off first because 19 is greater than 17 and hits Rourke because 19 is greater than 15. Rourke's fire never takes place. If Rourke had got his shot off, he would have hit because 17 is greater than 15. Now, theoretically, he could dodge there. If rolls are tied and one of the tied characters is a player character, he gets to go first. If they're both non-player characters or both player characters reroll. Okay, I love simultaneous shots. I would actually call it simultaneous. That's a house rule. That's not the book rule. That's just how I would do it. I like the idea of simultaneous shots in that regard. Each combat round, you can hold still, walk or run. Walking and running aren't skills. They're something everyone can do. Walking or running is an action and takes a segment. Okay? That's, well, walking doesn't. Remember, running reduces your die rolls too. If you hold still or walk, you can turn by any amount right or left. If you walk, you can move up to 5 meters in any direction. 5 meters sounds pretty precise, but since combat is fought in the imagination rather than on a board or map, you must rely on the game master's judgment. If he tells you that you can get someplace or reach a character in one round by walking, that's the case. If he tells you that you must run to get there in one round or that will take several rounds, his judgment is final. One of the things I like to do, and I do this in Dungeons and Dragons a lot, because I don't do battle maps and so forth, is if it's close, you can go 120 feet, right? Or in this case, you can go 5 meters, right? If it's close, I'll let you make some sort of dex check. And if you make it, in this case, you probably, a dexterity roll. If you make it, if you roll, in this case, maybe above a 15, I don't know, whatever number would be good, then you get there. If not, you're just short. Else, the game master's judgment is final. If it's 8 meters away, well, guess what you're running, right? If you run, you can move up to 10 meters in any direction, twice as far as walking. A character who runs can only turn by up to 90 degrees in the combat round, so you can make one right angle turn. Because you're moving so fast, you can't turn on a dime the way you can if you walk. Whenever a running character makes a skill roll, his code is reduced by 1 die. We've already talked about that in the last video. Walking characters' codes are not modified. Stance. You can always fall prone without any penalty at the end of your movement. Falling prone is part of movement, not a separate action. Prone characters can only move by crawling. They may move up to 2 meters per round. When a crawling character makes a skill roll, his code is reduced by 1 die just by like running. Anybody who's ever been crawling and tried to get some work done or tried to shoot or whatever, you'd realize that yes, it's not as easy. Firing from a stable prone position, yes, but not while crawling. Getting up from prone is an action. You can move, turn, and use skills in the same round, but you cannot move. Prone characters are harder to hit in combat, and we'll look at that later. All right, shooting. The blaster skill is frequently used in combat. The difficulty number for a shot depends on how far the character is. Point blank range, a few meters, is 5. They're pretty close. Yeah, I'm not going to get into it. Depending on what they mean by a few meters, part of me doesn't like this, but I'm being very hyper pedantic about that, so I'm not going to get into that. Somebody who's really close to you is almost impossible to hit if they don't want to be. But again, hyper pedantry there. So point blank range is 5, short range is 10, medium range is 15, long range is 20. I just seem to remember 15 basically being the base. But okay, so base for medium range 15. The range of each weapon in meters is printed on the weapon chart. See page 139. Well, let's look at that right now. We're on 13 right now. Let's just put a 9 on the back end of that and see what we've got. Got Han Solo. Wait, is that not 139? Okay, that's like the back of the book, so maybe... Oh, here we go. Weapons. Oh, what page are we on? I'm not seeing pages. Difficulty chart. Okay, that's a difficulty chart. Where weapons and ranges. Healing. Oh, here we go. Blaster pistols. All right, so let's just use heavy blaster because it's everybody's favorite weapon, right? Find something else. That's fine. We're going to use the heavy blaster. Blaster rifle, blaster carbine, heavy repeat. No, heavy blaster pistol. There's 5D damage. That's a bad boy right there. So it's 3 to 7, 8 to 25, 26 to 50. So that's 135, not 139. Okay. So 3 to 7, 8 to 25, 26 to 50. I probably won't remember all that, but whatevs. Let's go back over here. So the range of each weapon in meters is printed in the weapon chart. Since combat is visualized, you must rely on the game master to tell you you're at short, medium, or long range. Some weapons have better ranges than others. 20 meters is short range for a blaster rifle, but medium for a blaster pistol. So even if your buddy is firing at short range, you might be firing at long, depending on the weapons involved. Taking more than one shot using the blaster skill means using the blaster skill more than once. If you roll higher than the difficulty number for your shot, you hit the target. Example, if you shoot at short range, roll 10 or more, you've hit your target, unless the target dodges or is some other modifier. Each weapon has a damage code. Most blasters have damage codes of 4D. Remember, the one we looked at was 5D. That's crazy. When you hit the target, roll your weapon's damage dice. Example, Rourke uses a heavy blaster pistol. When he hits, he rolls 5D. You know, I'm going to roll 5D right now, and we're just going to use this number. Have 5? Not 3. Get out of there. So I'm going to roll these. It's going to be our 5D. Oh my God, I'm punching monitors. Okay. Oh God, that was a horrible roll. So that's a 1, 1, and 3. So a 5. Roll 2 more. 5. Oh, 5 and 11 is 16. Okay, so we're going to use 16 for our total when it comes to damage later. Then the game master. Okay, so example, Rourke uses heavy blaster pistol when he hits. So he rolls 5D, which I just did. We got 15 or 16. Then the game master rolls strength dice for your target. How badly you injure the target depends on the 2 rolls. Okay. So strength roll greater than damage roll stunned. I want you to think this through for just a moment. Strength, by the way, armor adds to strength. But let's just say I have a strength of 3. So I'm gonna roll these 3 dice. 1, 2, 3. Get in there. Actually a pretty good roll. Oh, only a 14 though. So that does not meet a 16. So we're not stunned. Damage roll is greater than or equal to strength, but less than 2 times the strength. Okay, so that would be what I rolled. So I'm wounded. Remember, damage roll is 16, strength roll is 14. It's higher, but not 2 times higher, so it's wounded. Then you have damage roll at least 2 times the strength roll, but less than 3 times the strength roll. Incapacitated. You're done. You're donezo. And then 3 times or more, dead. So the example here, your damage roll is 12. The target strength roll is 13 or more, he's stunned. That means if you hit the target, at the very least, the target is stunned. If you hit, you get a success for that hit. Something happens to the target. You're not just wiping off 4 hit points. If you hit, you have done something to the target. If the enemy hits you, he's done something to you. A hit is a hit. It's not just something you shrug off. We'll find out what stunned means in a moment. I think it's falling down. Probably minus some dice too. I can't remember. So, using this right here, okay? Damage roll is 12. So on a 13 or more, he's stunned. Between a 7 and 12, he's wounded. Between a 5 and 6, he's incapacitated. And 4 or less, he's mortally wounded. So a stunned character falls prone and can't do anything for the rest of the combat round. Now, the good news is it's just for the combat round. You are on your butt, and it's for the rest of the combat round. So if you only declared 1 action, you've already gone, you're fine. If you declared 3 actions, or if you didn't go first, yep, whatever you want to do this round isn't there. Dodge. Learn to dodge. Dodge is your buddy. A wounded character falls prone and can't do anything for the rest of the round, okay? Anytime he rolls a skill or attribute dice, his code is reduced by 1 die. So each wound... Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. Not each wound. So when he's wounded, he's minus 1 die. A wounded character's wounded, again, is incapacitated. So stacking wounds moves you down to incapacitated. An incapacitated character falls prone and is unconscious. He can't do anything until healed. An incapacitated character who is wounded or incapacitated again is mortally wounded. I have a question for you folks out there because I'm remembering this a little differently, and I think it's because I played 2nd edition more than 1st edition. Did 2nd edition actually drop down the die codes? Because I seem to remember being wounded multiple times in a session, and I just kept losing 1 die. It may have been a house rule. Could have been because we were playing 2nd edition. I don't remember. And I could be wrong. It might even just be misremembering, but I seem to remember that it went down by 1 die for each wound. Anyway. A mortally wounded character falls prone and is unconscious. He can't do anything until healed. Worse yet, at the end of every combat round, he must roll 2 dice. If his roll is less than the number of rounds since he was mortally wounded, he dies. That's a cool way of doing it. So, round 1, you can't roll. So he must roll 2d if his roll is less than. So the first 2 rounds, so for 10 seconds, you're not dead. Because you can't roll less than a 1, and you can't roll less than a 2 on 2 dice. Starting from there, though, things get hairy. Round 3. All right, still good. Round 4. All right, still good. Round 5. Oh, I rolled a 5. Okay, I'm still good. Let's roll under. Round 6. I rolled a 6. Wow. Round 7. I roll. Okay, we're good. Round 8. Oh, I'm actually making these. I got a 9. Round 9. And then I roll a 7. Hey, that was pretty good. Made 9 rounds. So, yeah. So you can stay alive. That gives plenty of time for your combat medic over there to get you to, rub a little dirt on it and make you feel better. But the point is something bad happens. Even up here with the wound or with the stunned, you're dropped and you got to get up. Remember, you can get up. What does it say about, let's read the prone rules again. Stance. Getting up from a prone position is an action. You can turn and use skills in the same round, but you cannot move. You could be dropped in a very precarious situation. Now, if you're dropped behind a box or, some cover, then you're good. Buddies can get to you, right? Revised and expanded has wounded twice. Okay, that seems familiar to me. Okay, thank you, Hungry Ewok. Okay, where are we here? At the end of the round, if the roll is less than 1, which is impossible, he dies next round. Anything less than 2, also impossible. Yeah, that's what I was saying. In other words, he's going to die eventually and pretty soon, unless someone gets to him to a medical droid rejuvenation tank or uses a medipack. Medipacks are your friend. I think that, yep. Making a strength roll when hit is not considered an action or regular attribute use. You never modify the strength code for running, wounds, taking an extra wound, or multiple skill use. Yeah, your strength is your strength. Your ability to resist damage is your ability to resist damage. You do increase it by armor, but we'll get to that either here or when we talk about equipment. Another useful skill is dodge. When someone fires at you, you roll your dodge dice. The number you roll is added to his difficulty number. Remember, that takes an action, though. So that's going to reduce all your die rolls, and maybe even this one, depending on what you got going on that round, right? But that adds to his die roll. Let's read this example. I'm not going to roll my dice anymore. The bounty hunter, Jana, fires at Rourke, who dodges. Jana's blaster skill is 5d plus 2, and the shot is at short range, so the difficulty is 10. Rourke's dodge skill is 4d plus 1. Rourke rolls a 14, so Jana's difficulty number is now 24. Goes from 10 to 24 because he's actively dodging. And unfortunately, she only gets a 22. Dodges are reaction skills. You don't have to declare dodges at the beginning of each combat round, and you can dodge and take another action in the same segment. You must decide whether or not you're dodging before the attacker makes a skill roll. Yeah, you can't wait to see it. Did he hit me? No, okay, well, then I'm not dodging, of course. Yeah, can't do that. You dodge more than one. If you dodge and more than one opponent fires at you in the same action segment, your dodge roll affects all opponents' attacks. So that 14 affects everybody shooting at him that round. He doesn't roll individually each time. So if you roll high, awesome. If you roll low, uh-oh. 4 stormtroopers fire at Rourke in the first segment, and he dodges and rolls an 11. Okay, so they're using a different roll for him here. The dodge increases all 4 stormtroopers' difficulty numbers by 11 each, even though Rourke is only using the skill once. You can dodge every segment, but each time is a separate skill use and decreases skill codes 1 die further. Some fires at you in a segment and you choose not to dodge or can't, his attack is not affected, even if you use a reaction skill earlier in the segment. Archaic and unusual weapons. Some characters start with out-of-date unusual weapons, like Chewbacca's bowcaster. Each of these weapons is used with a different skill, not with the blaster skill. If your character has such a skill, it's listed on his character template. This is like for a firearm, if you want to use an actual real firearm or real-world firearm. Hand-to-hand, if your character is near someone else, he can attack the other character in hand-to-hand combat. If your character isn't carrying a melee weapon, use the brawling skill. If he is, use the melee weapon. Basically, use the same rules for blast, except the base difficulty number for the attack is not determined by range, but by the weapon used. So let's look at that page. So we're on page 14 now. It's 135. Archaic weapons, grenade, melee weapons. Here we go. Difficulty is right here on the screen, if you can see that. So if you're using a spear, the difficulty is 10. So. Here. Okay, in addition, the damage code when making a brawling attack is the character's strength. If the character uses a melee weapon, damage code is the weapon plus his strength. So if you're stronger, you're potentially going to do more damage. When a character fights hand-to-hand, he can use his brawling parry skill if he doesn't have a weapon, or his melee parry if he does. They work just like dodge, but they only affect hand-to-hand attacks, not blaster. Brawling parry only works against brawling attacks, not melee attacks. Melee parry works against both. Dodge doesn't affect brawling. Granadas. Your character has a grenade, he can throw it any place you like. The difficulty number depends on the range. Ranges for grenades are printed in the weapons chart. If your roll is equal to or greater than the difficulty number, it lands where you want it to. There you go. You threw it where you wanted. If your roll is lower, it may end up in your lap. That's awesome. Grenades do damage to everyone around them, so be careful where you throw them. If a grenade lands near you, you can dodge to avoid injury. The Game Master rolls 4d for the grenade. Its difficulty number depends on your distance from it. Your dodge increases the grenade's difficulty number. If its roll is greater than or equal to the modified difficulty, damage is determined normally. A grenade's damage code depends on the distance to its target. Whenever you dodge against a grenade, you end the action segment prone. If you dodge in an action segment, your dodge affects all blaster fire and grenade attacks in the same segment. I wish they would have put an example here. So let me go back and read this again to make sure I've got it right. I think I do, but just let me. If a grenade lands near you, you can dodge to avoid it. The Game Master rolls 4d for the grenade. That becomes its difficulty number. Depends on your distance from it. See the weapon chart, page 139. Okay, we got to look at the weapon chart. 5. Where are Granadas? There we go. I think it's over here. Okay, grenade scatter diagram. There we go. Well, 3D to determine the distance in meters. Direction thrown. Okay, that's scatter, skill use, armor type. Where's the? I guess that is it. The stream. Doing this on a stream, even though it's very simple English, it's like stream math. It's kind of a pain in the butt. There's one part of this rule that isn't latching onto my brain right now, and that's Game Master rolls 4d. I understand that it becomes a difficulty number, and that's what you have to do, but it depends on your distance from it, and I didn't see, unless I just missed, that part. Unless this is, oh, okay, so it's got ranges here, so is it minus 1d for each one? Oh, got it. Oh, okay. I see how the chart is laid out. Okay. That actually makes sense. Got it. So, grenade. If you're in medium range, what's this hitting 5 to 6? Damage will be 3d. So, obviously, a grenade's going to, let's just start with the bottom one. This one's easy. A grenade does more damage the closer it is. So, if it's within 3 to 7 meters of you, you're going to be ouchied. If it's further away, you're not going to be ouchied as much. Wow, that's a lot of range for a grenade. Now in here, the hitting part, this is 3, 4, 5 to 6, 7 to 10. That's the modifier. So is that the dice the player rolls? Difficulty number depends on your distance from it. Your dodge increases the grenade's difficulty number. I'd have to roll this once. It's probably really simple, and you guys in chat are probably screaming at me right now. I just have to go through the process one time, and unfortunately, when you're on stream, there's that. Even though I don't really feel it, but there's still that. Oh my god, that pressure! Moving on. I'm not visualizing this the way I want to. So I'm sure somebody also put it in the comment somewhere, tell me how stupid I am, but that's fine. You can do that. I generally get it. You roll. You're gonna roll versus the defense. It's just this weird modifier here. The Game Master rolls 4d for the grenade. Fully understand that. Its difficulty number depends on the distance from it. So its difficulty number. Your dodge increases. Okay, so you dodge. Oh, 135. I think I do got it now. So difficulty number, hitting 3 to 4. 5 to 6. 7 to 10. So let's just say it's here. So its difficulty number is modified by the range. So do I pick 3 or 4? I don't know. I mean, that's what it looks like. I just kind of pick a 3 or 4, pick a 7 to a 10. Bigger numbers for difficulty, smaller range distance. Okay, what? Bigger number is for difficulty, smaller range. That wasn't English, whatever you typed there. So I know that as soon as I end this video, I'm going to look at it and I'll be like, oh, that made perfect sense. And I'm going to feel dumb, but I got to move on. 15. I know it's not different. We didn't use a lot of grenades. That's why I don't fully remember. Or if we did, I just don't remember using the grenades. So, so if its roll is greater than or equal to the modified difficulty damage determined normally. So if its roll is, if you're dodging, so it's going to have a difficulty number, rolls 4D against that target number. So even at long range, it's got a difficulty of 10. So you still have to dodge. Okay. So it's going to roll 4D against, I only have 3D on me. And it was like, it was 5 to 6 for medium range. It was 3 to 4 for short. I guess what's throwing me off is it's got that range of numbers in there. I wish it just had a number. That would have made more sense, but okay. And I know that people are watching this video later like, oh my God, are you stupid? Yep, apparently I am. So I rolled a 10, 11 total. So that would mean that it does normal damage. Not including your dodge. If you roll your dodge, then that difficulty number goes up. So somebody, if that is right, somebody in chat will tell me, and I'll go back to that and I'll show you those numbers. If I'm wrong, somebody will hopefully correct me in English, and so I can understand it in 3rd grade English, and then I can get that on the stream. But either way, skill points, we already read that. Are we done? 46 to 52. No, not even close. 46 to 52. It's just 46. All right, now this is the game master portion of it, and it gives some hints here on how to talk about it, how to describe it, and make sure you give them the descriptions out there for the folks. We're going to start down here. It talks about, well, actually, no, we're not. This talks about the advantages and disadvantages of doing it this way by not having battle maps, but by just letting the game master make the call. There's really only, okay, so occasionally, however, a player may argue saying he's really at short range or that he ought to be able to close with his opponent one round when you say it will take 2. There's really only one answer to this. Love it. You're the game master. Unless the player points out something you've overlooked, be apologetic, but make it clear that what you say goes. That is right. Game master is in charge. On the other hand, don't be arbitrary. The object of the game is have a good time, not frustrate your players. I always believe in the concept of fair, consistent. Is it fair, consistent? Oh my God. See, I can't even remember my own. Reasonable. Fair, consistent, reasonable. Fair, consistent, reasonable. If you make a fair decision based on what you reasonably know, and you're consistent with it, then the decision is fine. Combat is divided into combat rounds. We already did that. Each combat round follows the following sequence. Decision segment. Decide what each non-player character is going to do. While you're deciding, let the players decide what they want to do next. Declaration segment. Go around the table, ask each player what he wants to do, then tell players what the NPCs are doing. I know there's a lot of people that have heartburn with this whole type of declaration segment stuff. I love it. And my game is going to have it. Some of my favorite games out there have this. It is still a game. I know a lot of people want to turn it table LARPing, but it is still a game. So first action segment, each character for whom the action was declared takes his first action, and action is either a movement or a skill or attribute use. Remember, you cannot skip segments. Second action segment, subsequent action segments, and so on. Here we go. Another one. Remember, this is Game Master advice. Don't let them hesitate. If a player hesitates, so does his character. Combat in Star Wars is Fast and Furious. It's not a chess game where players can mull over their next move for hours. Basically, you have enough time to, as the other players are doing their stuff, to figure out what it is you want to do. And if that changes so much that you're like, well, then your character's like, And that's what positioning. Actions. Reaction skills can be used in any action segment. A character who uses a reaction skill can still take an action. If a character uses a reaction skill, it affects all attacks in the same segment. We already did that. Movement. Running character. We already talked about running, so I'm not going to do that. Just remember, it does drop you down by 1 die. Stance. A prone character can crawl. Okay, I thought that was going to be the penalty. We've already talked about that. And attribute codes are reduced by 1d. Fire combat blaster is the most common weapon. Blaster skill is used when firing. Got all that. Difficulty numbers. We talked about that already. Is this just rehashing the same stuff? Looks like it is. Skill rolls. Once you determine difficulty number, skill roll, damage. We've got the damage codes are listed. We've already gone through that. Okay, armor. We haven't talked about armor. I mean, I mentioned it, but we haven't really talked about it yet. Armor increases the character's strength code for damage determination purposes only. For example, a standard stormtrooper armor increases the character's strength by a whole 1 die when rolling to resist damage. A character with a strength of 2d plus 1 wearing stormtrooper armor would roll 3d plus 1 when hit by blaster fire. And now you know why they fall down like paper mache targets. It really is plastic that they're wearing. See the armor chart on page 139 for more details. Let's take a look at that. Let's look at some armor. Armor chart. There we go. Stormtrooper armor. Bounty hunter armor is only 1d also. Wow. Is that all they have for armor in here? A 1d armor? Where's the good armor? Oh, there's no good armor in here. You have to go get some of the extra books to get. I know there's better armor than that. Believe me, there's better armor than that. I mean, you're not gonna get like 10d armor. That'd be crazy. But yeah, there's definitely more than that. So, okay, well, let's get back to whatever page I was on. I already forget. Somewhere around there. Hey, there we go. Okay, so however, armor reduces a character's dexterity by the same amount that increases his strength. This reduction applies whenever a character makes a dexterity attribute roll or a dexterity skill roll. So, dodging? Stormtroopers have dexterities of 2d and blaster skill 4d. Their armor has a rating of 1d. Whenever you make a stormtrooper dexterity roll, you only roll 1d. When you make a blaster skill roll, you only roll 3d. I'm just going to be upfront with you. I don't know a lot of game masters that track that. I'm not saying that they shouldn't have. I'm not saying that we never did, but I don't believe a lot actually track that. Not at least not as closely as they should have. Or maybe they just didn't want to, remember that every time. I can barely remember it ever coming up in our groups. So, Boba Fett's armor is plus 2d with no dex penalty. There you go. See, that's better. Dodges, we already talked about that. So anytime a character is fired upon, he may dodge if declared of other skills. That's like the 5th time we've mentioned that. So I think by now we know how to use dodge. Setting blasters on stun. Blasters can be set to stun. That is, knock a target unconscious without killing or injuring. Setting blasters on stun or resetting to normal operation reduces all skill and attribute codes for the same round by 1d because it takes a little bit of effort and concentration. When you're changing it, I know you might just say, hey, but if M16, I can just go like that to go from auto to semi-auto and so forth. It should be the same. Well, apparently it's not. To switch from stun, from kill to stun, stun to kill, that's going to reduce your codes by 1d. Treat it like it's an action. If you just think of it that way, you're treating it like an action, there you go. However, doing so is not considered an action and does not take an action segment. When a blaster set on stun is fired, the same rules are followed. The only difference is that the damage are different. Kill and incapacitate. A character who suffers one of these results is instead knocked unconscious. A character who suffers wounds is instead stunned for 2 combat rounds. A character who's been stunned by a blaster set on stun has not yet recovered. Then is stunned again, is knocked unconscious. So it's like the Zat. one knocks you down, 2 kills you. No, okay. One stuns you, 1 knocks you unconscious. Drawing. Character does not have a blaster in hand, but has one in his holster. He can draw it and still do other things in the same round. Like setting a blaster on stun, drawing a weapon reduces all skill attribute codes by 1d in the same round, but does not take an action segment. So you can draw and fire, but it is going to reduce your attack roll by 1d, even though you can do both in the same round. Hand-to-hand combat, I think we talked about that, unless I see something that pops out on to me here. Damage, we know how damage works. If a character has a strength of 2d plus 1, attacks using a club, if he hits, he rolls 2d plus 1 for his strength and 1d for the weapon, adds them together. So he'd be rolling 3d plus 1. Lightsabers, they kill. There you go. grenades and thermal detonators. Each time a grenade detonator is thrown, each time a grenade or detonator is thrown is expended. Yep. If the character fails to hit, does not mean it has no effect. It means it goes off somewhere else. Boom, boom. Grenades and detonators can be dodged. Okay, use a game. Oh, here we go. Use a grenade is a 3-step process. Determine whether the thrower succeeds in throwing. Got it. Determine whether the grenade hits, damages each of the characters within its blast radius. Okay, so 48. Go back to 130. So determine if it hits. 135. So you take this 3 to 4. So let's say it's short range. Dropped in your lap. 3 to 4. So that he's got to roll 46, and he's going to hit you. Basically, is what's happening. You're going to need your dodge skill for that. Over here, it's 5 to 6, and I'm guessing it's either based on the type of grenade, or he just picks one. Maybe it's closer to 8. He says it's 5. It's closer to 20. He picks 6. That's the way it seems to me. And that's the target number for that 46 roll. Let's see. Did I hit you? Oh shit! I might not have. 2, 4, 5. 5 plus, okay, 5 plus 6 is 11, so I rolled an 11. So I needed a 6, and I got an 11. Now, if you dodged, remember, you would have already had to declare it, and you got more than 11, or sorry, so 6, 11. If you had more than a 5 on your dodge roll, then it would have missed. If it hits you, it goes boom, it does 3d damage. Because we're talking range. Here, it just doesn't feel like I don't know. It's a very simple process. It just doesn't feel that way for some reason to me. See, determine how much damage each character receives. Did that. Throwing a difficulty number is calculated the same way as for fire combat. When a thrower fails a grenade roll, the grenade scatters, and we looked at that. Well, I can look at it again, but we kind of looked at that earlier. Shows the direction which the grenade scatters relative to the throw on the target. Then roll 3 dice. The number rolls the number of meters that the grenade scatters. So it's going to scatter about an average of 11 meters. Hitting characters refer to the grenade detonator line's weapon. Unlike all the weapons, these weapons have 2 range sections. Okay, the first range section is used to determine the thrower's chance of hitting. The second is used to determine whether the grenade hits nearby characters when it explodes. When a grenade explodes, determine which characters are near enough to be affected. Anyone within 10 meters of a grenade or 20 meters of a detonator. Okay, so this is different than what we were saying. 10 meters of a grenade or 20 meters of a detonator. For each such character, determine whether it's point blank, short, medium, and long range of the grenade. Example, anyone within 3 meters of a grenade is within point blank range. Anyone between 3 and 4 meters is at short range. Say what? Oh, I think I had that totally wrong. I think I'm understanding now. And it makes more sense. Remember when I was complaining about the wow, that's pretty far for a grenade? So this is my guess. Or this is what it's looking like. 3 to 7 is how far you can throw it. That's your accuracy for your throw. Yep, there it is right there. 3 to 4, 5 to 6, 7 to 10 is for it's a blast radius. That would have made much more sense if it would have said blast radius. Okay, got it. So this is how far you can throw it. 40 meters is pretty dang far for a grenade. And again, it's a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. This is its blast radius. So if you're at 11 meters, you're fine. But if you're at 7 to 10, it's considered long. Got it. Okay. Okay. Oh yeah, that's the blast radius. And where is that? Where is it? Okay, here we go. So for each such character, determine whether. Okay, got it. Example: anyone within 3 meters but grenades point blank. We got that. Got that. Determine the grenade's difficulty number as you normally would. That is, difficulty number is 5 for someone at point blank range, 10 at short range. The character may dodge if he wishes. So if you are, let's say, 6 meters from the grenade, 49. 6 meters from the grenade. That's medium. So that would be a target number of 15. Or is this considered point blank? Hold on. Yeah, no, that's medium. So the target number is 15. if you're 5 to 6 meters away. By the way, this now makes more sense. I just think they use some bad terminology. That's it. Putting it together like this makes sense. If that would have said blast radius, I would have picked up on it sooner. So, character may dodge if he wishes. Dodging a grenade means falling prone and attempt to avoid the blast. The normal rules for dodge are followed. The die roll increases the grenade's difficulty number. So medium range was 10, and if he dodges, I'm just gonna pull these three with phase of 3 dodge, and he adds 7, 8, 9 onto that. That'd be a 19. He rolls his dodge dice, add the number to the grenade's difficulty number, roll 4d for the grenade. If the roll is greater than or equal to the modified difficulty number, is hit the character who suffers damage. So you said 19 for mine, right? So I only have 3d there, but there's 2. Wow. Crap, that's 5. And 11. So I still didn't do it. So I still didn't beat the 19. But 16, 17, whatever. 5 and 11. Yeah, 16. So boom. So did not make it. So the grenade does not hurt the character as long as he dodged. Make a separate roll for each character within the grenade's blast radius. Now, if it would have hit, since we're saying it's medium range, right? It would have done 3d damage. And so you'd have to make a strength roll. Let's do the strength roll first. Let's say they're both 3d because I want to do this quickly. That's a 9 for the strength roll, and the damage is more than 9. So 10, 11, 12. So that means that he takes damage, and he'd be wounded. Okay, optional combat rules. At least at first, we recommend that you do not use these. All right. These rules add realism at the expense of complexity and additional time to play. So you can use maps. Let's see what kind of optional rules we have here. Maps and miniatures and facing. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm not a big battle map guy. I'm pretty much a theater of the mind person. Stance and terrain. Counting ranges when using miniatures. Just a ruler when using 1 square is 2 meters. So these really just look like map rolls. Okay, damage modifiers. Let's take a look at what those. Oh, okay. Modifying difficulty numbers. Whole series of conditions that can. Yeah, there's a table back there that you can add a surprise, an ambush situation. One side knows. This means the first segment they can take whatever actions they wish. So if the ambushers get a surprise, they can take whatever actions they want in that first segment. Interesting. Ammunition and reloading. In Star Wars movies, characters seem to fire forever without running out of ammunition. But after all, even if a blaster contains an incredibly large number of energy, at some point it has to run out, right? Here's what to do. Under normal circumstances, don't worry about ammunition. A single blaster pack is good for hundreds of shots. Player can always recharge. This is where that stupid luck die or wild die would come in 2nd edition. Single blaster pack is good for 100 shots because I already said that. Only worry about ammunition when there's a good reason in the adventure to believe that the character's supplies are low. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's a supply run. Yeah, or it says here they've separated from their ship for several days. In this case, tell them exactly how many shots they have left. Whenever a player shoots, have them make a tick mark on the sheet. It's used up as ammunition. That's it. I prefer to do something more like a timer die, more like a roll. But I suppose if we can count our ammunition in our magazines today, then they could probably count their ammunition too. Okay. Incidentally, replacing a blaster pack costs 1d from all die codes, but does not take an action. It's just like drawing, just like changing your setting. Number of factors can increase discrete damage. Done. Okay. An area is considered enclosed. Okay, so enclosed areas can do more grenade damage. Got it. By the way, I'm not going to read all of these. And then we got weapon descriptions, and it says skip that. Last thing we need to talk about, is now we got to talk about wounds and healing. All right, most of the weapons used in Star Wars cauterize as they wound, so people rarely bleed to death or die of infection. In addition, medical technology is fantastically advanced. All right, wounded characters can act and use skills, but all skills and attribute codes are reduced by 1d. We already read that. Incapacitated characters are unable to act or use skills. Mortally wounded characters can be roused, but hey, they might have to make a roll every round to see if they die. Medipacks. A med pack is a package of drugs, synth flesh, and coagulants, and computerized diagnostics. Med packs are used for first aid and emergency field care. Any character with medicine skill can attempt to use a med pack to treat an injured character. He may make 1 skill roll per combat round he spends treating the character. The difficulty of using the med pack depends on the severity of the wound. So it's the wound that's the issue. We can look at page 140 for that. We're on 52 now. So, and 136. There you go. Medpack difficulty numbers. So wounded person is 10, incapacitated is 15, mortally wounded is 20. Good luck. Good luck. Oh, man. That's Starship stuff. There we go. It's only one page for this one. If the user rolls equals or higher than the difficulty number, he's treated the injured character. A treated character's wound status reduced by 1 degree. So you're not completely healed yet if you go from mortally wounded, but you'll be down to incapacitated. And hopefully you can do it again, get to wounded, do it again. I'm sure, we can also wait some time. Wounded characters' injuries are treated by Medipack, become uninjured, and cannot be healed if wounded a second time that day. Ooh. At least a day must pass before a Medpack can be used again. Okay, well, there you go. So it's going to take 4 days to get somebody who is mortally wounded back up on his feet. Character's wound status can only be reduced by 1 degree. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Nope. Let's read this. Let's actually do what it says here and not make some assumptions. So, a treated character's wound status reduced by 1 degree. That is, mortally wounded character becomes incapacitated. Incapacitated ones become wounded, and wounded ones become uninjured. A character's wound status can only be reduced by 1 degree. Hard stop. Characters treated once cannot be healed further by medpacks, only by rejuvenation tanks or natural healing. So, once the medpack is used, that's it. Wounded characters whose injuries are treated by medpack. I don't know. For some reason, I feel like we use multiple medpacks, but that could just be me misremembering again, or that could be house ruled. I don't know. Wounded characters whose injuries are treated by medpack and become uninjured cannot be healed wounded a second time that day. So, look, man, you went from wounded to good, and then you got wounded again. Well, we're waiting until tomorrow anyway. A wounded character can use a medpack on himself, but medical skill code is reduced by 1 die. A medpack is expended when used, of course. Rejuvenation tanks are filled with Bacta, a specially formulated treatment liquid that promotes rapid healing and acts as a disinfectant. Someone who's placed in a rejuvenation tank will be healed. It's only a matter of time. Refer to the healing table and find the character's wound status in the rejuvenation tank section. All right. We can look at that some other time. Natural healing. Sometimes a character can't get to a rejuvenation tank because he's on a primitive planet, lost, hiding from Imperials, whatever. In this case, make a strength attribute roll for the character once per day and refer to the natural healing section of the healing table. Find the character's wound status. You'll find the character's wound status and find the number you rolled for him underneath it. It'll tell you whether the character's wounds get better or worse. Or worse. You gotta like that, right? So, example, under wounded, the table says 2 to 6 is incapacitated, 7 to 11 is no change, 12 plus is healed. Wow, that's going to take you a long time to heal. So we're on page 52, which I'll forget. Oops. Okay. Wounded. That's natural healing. Strengthable. Okay, so wounded. If you're incapacitated. Okay, so if you're wounded, it's 2 to 6. You actually get worse and become incapacitated. 7 to 11, no change. 12 plus, you're healed. If you're already incapacitated, today you become dead. Yeah, it was that bad. You suffered too much tissue damage. Your body couldn't naturally heal that. Remember, this is just natural healing. 9 to 13, no change. 14 plus, you get bumped up to wounded. 14 plus, hopefully you got a good body. And that's healing times for the rejuvenation tank that I said we'd skip, but we'll look at it. If you're wounded, it's just a couple hours or a few hours. If you're incapacitated, a few days. If you're mortally wounded, it's a few weeks. And if you're Vader, it's forever. So. All right. Finish up this. That means that if his strength roll is 6 or less, his wounds get worse. He becomes incapacitated from 12. Okay, I think we read that. We already kind of described that anyway. And we looked at the incapacitated one. Falling in collisions, when a character falls further than 3 meters or collides with an object while traveling at a speed faster than 5 kilometers, refer to falling collision tables. Find the speed of the collision or the distance fallen on the same line printed. Roll the damage dice indicated. All right, that sounds fun. It's cost. Is that up here actually? Astrogation mishap, difficulty modifier. That's astrogation chart. Rejuve, difficulty. Where is this? Type damage summary, stun wound, skill code. Where's our falling? Where's our falling and crash? Force difficulty. Cost difficulty, point blank, everyone knows. Med pack use. Oh, falling and collision. There we go. All right. So if you fall 20 meters, what happens if you fall 20 meters? Oh, you're over here. You take 6d of damage, same as if you crash at 51 to 100 kilometers an hour. Ouch. That's all I can say is ouch. And there you go. Usual rules for damage are used to determine how severely the character is injured. And you do roll strength to reduce the damage. It says it right there. Roll damage dice as indicated, and roll strength dice for the affected character. So you can try to reduce the damage, but 6 dice is a lot. It's a lot. All right, that is going to be it for today. I know we had a little slow part there. We were trying to figure out the grenade thing. It's been a while, but the Dungeon Master or the Game Master section was much better about that than the player section. And if it just said blast radius, once I understood that was blast radius, got it. Okay, completely got it after that. So let's throw on our march and see what kind of chat and how many people yelled at me there. Next week is going to be, what are we doing next week? Next week is going to be the starships. We're going to talk about starships, starship combat, and the Force. And then we will wrap up the book. So it's a really easy book to get through. A quick one. Well, let's start that bad boy over. Okay. So, thanks again for the super chat, Kevin. We're going to use this as a dividing line when chat started. Wow, you guys are just search for open source Star Wars or D6 West End games and sites with them available show. Do your diligence. They were put open source by West End Games shortly before a buyout a decade or so ago. Yeah, I could have sworn that there's legal ways of getting it. So if anybody's saying no now, it might be from a modern license holder, or if there even is one. I've only heard good things, but yeah, I've only had good experiences with it. Let's see. All right, well, it's too late now, but CPK, have a good one. Such a great, yes, David Hill, if you're still here, it is such a great game. Hopefully I'm doing it justice. I'd also consider who goes first a separate roll from someone hits. You can be faster, but not as good of a shot. I hear what you're saying. Don't get me wrong. I just think that the way the game tries to do it is simplistic and works for the game rules itself. Not that what your desire or your idea is wrong, but I wouldn't want to modify that aspect of this game. Personally, I wouldn't, because I think it's one of those things that adds interest to the system and keeps it going quickly. But that said, yeah, and as Hungry Ewok said, has wounded twice minus 2d. I thought there was something in there where you could get hit twice, but you can always house rule certain things, you know, wrong with that. Yeah, I didn't understand what you were trying to say there. I'm sure you were trying to tell me what the grenade thing was, but I didn't get what you were saying there. It didn't help at all. See how crappy armor is? No GM1 under my... Yeah, this is about the part of not reducing the dexterity. Yeah, I can understand that. Thank you. Thank you, Polyrobotics. You're not wrong. All right. Okay. That's all I'm going to put up there for now. I think 2E has initiative. It might. I know I've played more 2E than 1E, but I've always understood the 1E rules better, probably because there's a lot less of them. And I've liked 1E better. Now, let's quickly talk about the wild die. I think I did this on the live stream. I'm not sure if I did this on a video. I did this on the first one. The idea of the wild die makes sense to me because one of my only complaint about the rules of this game when I played it was, I got 2 dice in blaster. Literally 0 chance for me to hit somebody at medium range. Not a chance at all. The best I can roll is a 12, and that requires a 15. And medium is kind of standard range. Now, one hand, you say, well, yeah. I personally don't like that. It's one of the reasons why I like games with exploding dice. I like games where 20 always hits, things like that, where there's always the chance that you hit. And I think that was one of the things that the wild die added a benefit. Problem with the wild die is it overcomplicated, and I say this based more on probably the game masters and the rules of the game. It overcomplicated, where game masters are trying to always come up with new, interesting ways of handling the wild die. Now, there's multiple ways that I seem to remember that 2nd edition said you could do it. The 2 that I remember is that the game master can just kind of chick some apply some minor complication. And the other one is like, it's either subtracting the wild die or subtracting the wild die and another die or something like that. I know there's a subtraction method in there as well. That it's like you thought you hit, but that wild die came up once, and now one of your other dice are negative. The problem is then you have to do like, hold on. First of all, you lose the 1 for the wild die, and now what's your other die over here? Oh, the 4. You have to lose the 4 also. I don't want to say it slowed down the game because I don't necessarily believe it did, and I also don't think that's a good excuse. But it did make people go, hold on. I got a 16, and now what are we removing? The 1, so that's 15, and I got to do 4 more, so that's an 11. Oh, okay. It's just the way it was done. Complications tended up being more clown shoes than anything else, and the and the math, we'll just call it involved, frustrated people, even though it was 2nd grade match. Just like Thaco. Let's be honest. It was like Thaco. Hey, talk about Thaco. Keep calling, consult the Thaco chart. Sure, you can get off our store. Our Redbubble store. I don't have a problem with it. I just think that I like the exploding die portion of it. I didn't like the 1 portion of it. And I'm saying that as both a game master and a player. I wouldn't want to deal with the 1 portion of it as a game master. But I did like the fact that, hey, now you at least have a chance. You're going to have to roll max and then get that die to do something else again. But that's just my take. Other than that, I like the simplicity of 1st edition without the wild die. Your mileage may vary. I think that 2nd edition, from what I remember, just really tried to add in too many optional updated rules that it didn't need. I love the theater of the mind aspect of 1st edition and how it embraces that and just says, look, game master is going to tell you how things are and you got to go with it. Now that requires a game master to put out good information out there, to be fair. So yeah, but and if you want your maps, once again, like I said, for the probably shouldn't have stacked that on top of it. Again, my 1st edition books. If you want to do spaceship combat, because Sheriff was saying earlier that he didn't like spaceship combat, and I didn't mind it as being abstract, but here you go. This is the spaceship and the Starfighter combat version. There we go. Let's get it where you can see it on the screen. Good luck finding this. I found this one a few years ago off of it was either eBay or Noble Knight. I forget which one. I think it was eBay. But all right. Seems that chat is lurking. So not much more to say there. And I just want to make sure, where are we for the giveaway? Again, we're not even close. Not even halfway. So I guess we're not going to have a giveaway today, which is fine. That is fine. It's over here. F11U. Go over there. Let's end this video. So there we go. I know a lot of things slowed this one down. This is probably gonna be a little bit longer than it needed to be. Every now and again, I get somebody who complains like, there was a 10-minute video that you expanded up to 45 minutes. Well, we do live streams here, so we're talking to a live stream. We're going through this with live stream, and while it probably would have maybe we'd had more interaction if Heathen Dog was here or whatever. He's not here this week or next week, and you got just me. And yeah, the grenade thing. it slowed it down a little bit, but I think, seeing, going through things like that are helpful. Generally speaking, I really like these books. I just think that some of the sections, not chapters so much, but sections are a little out of order, like randomly like put here and then there, and like, okay, that was weird. And I think that sometimes it repeats itself in ways it doesn't need to repeat itself. Normally, I think repeating is good, but the way it does it here, but all told, it beats the rules into you. If you were to modify this game down into its pure technical writing format, it'd probably be 20 pages total, and most of that being ships and templates and skills. But there we go. I've got nothing else. Please tell me what you think of the series so far. Remember, next week is going to be the Force. Actually, that's the last chapter. It's going to be Starships, Starship Combat, and the Force. And I look forward to talking to everybody then.